Hi guys, thanks for tuning into the video. Just wanted to make this little quick one here, as it is at the moment the LongSword from the LongSword Anim Set Pro from Kubold is actually on sale at the moment. Now they're really high quality animations. I quite like the Kubold sets, and I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to grab this one. Also, we'll highlight as well, I believe this special pack goes to a charity foundation, which is really nice. So yeah, I suggest I think there's maybe only a couple of days left on the sale, so you should grab it if it's something that will work for your projects. You won't be disappointed. They're really nice animations. Anyway, so putting them into the system will be the focus of this video. I did say I was going to get working on the quest in the next episode, but I just wanted to put this one in here while this was still on sale so people could or take advantage of that. So I've put that in already. I'm just going to click play on here and I'll show you what that comes out like. So as you can see now, I've actually changed the sword so it's a two-handed sword. It doesn't sit quite freshly in the hands, but I can fix up that animation later. For now though, we can see we can run along and we've got that. When we cut, we've got several animations and that all looks pretty nice. That's the strong attack. Yay! And then the weak attacks are as such. And with a little kick out there. So I can put them in, they're going to be a little bit faster. I'm going to have like the fast and the strong attacks, so like your Witcher 3 titles. Yeah, so that's how it works now. I'll show you how to implement that as quick as I can. So we'll just take it off here. So you need to make a few little edits in order to get this to work properly, and I'll show you how to go through those. So we've got our player controller prefab here, and we want to, what I've actually done, I've reset the stats on this, so I'm not going to be using root motion for this one. I had a little bit of issues with some of the animations popping and the positioning of the character. I can tidy those up in another video when I switch back to root motion, but for now I've just reset it and I'm using the non-root motion controller. So we've got the walk speeds, running speed all set up, and I've still turned on the turn on spot anim and the roll control. That just yeah, basically helps with some of the smoothness of the animations. But as I said, later on I'll be editing that. So what we need to do now, as you can see, I've actually got the animator controller set to something else now. What I've done here is because I know that in the future there's going to be some updates with Invector, and as I said, that when you update it will overwrite things that you've changed. So any kind of modifications we're going to do to the animator controller, we want to back up and put that in our modified resources folder. Now to do that, in the animator folder we've actually got here Invector Shooter Melee Controller. That was the one that I was using. All I've done is once I've made the modifications, I've just pressed Control D. And as you can see, it's duplicated that there. I've then renamed that duplicate item. I'm just going to delete this one because I don't need it. I've renamed that one, and then I've dragged it into my modified resources folder under the subfolder for animator controllers, and as you can see, that's it here. Once I've done that, I just need to click on the prefab and then drag that up into the slot here for controller, and then that will replace the original animator controller, which is the one that will get overwritten whenever we update the Invector template. So now that I've used the modified one, and if there is something in the new template that comes out that I want different with that controller, I can just modify the new one and then replace it like that. But anyway, let's just ignore that part for now. So what we need to do is we need to edit a few things, as I said. We need to go to the actual animator controller here and just double click that, and it's going to open up into this window. Now you've got your layers down the left hand side. You've got your base, right arm, left arm, only arms, upper body, underbody, shot and full body. The ones that we need to effectively edit for here, under the full body layer, you've got here, you can see it transitions straight into attacks. Just double click on attacks and it's going to bring up the attack section. Then you've got your strong and your weak attacks. The best way to do it, I think, if you open up weak attacks here we go. So they've already got a two-handed attack set with the katana listed under the weak attacks column. So what you can actually do, if we open that up, you see here it's got the 3 different attacks that can be chained together, or just have 1 and 2 and then exit out. These are already set up with the animations that come with the template. So as you can see here, we've got the straight down attack, but it's two-handed, so it's pretty neat. I haven't really used them much since they updated and put in those two-handed attacks. I haven't actually played around with it yet. But as I said, I've just put these LongSword animations in, and I wanted to take them and play with them. Now you can actually replace, the easiest way is just to replace these animations here with the ones that come from the Kubold or the Kubold animation pack. But what I want to do is actually wanted to leave these in and just create a whole new attack range, so I can still keep the katana, because these ones here are actually quite specific to a katana when you look at the way they move. Yeah, these sort of chops and things like that are actually quite nice for a katana, but maybe not for a two-handed, like a regular longsword or like an old medieval weapon. So what I've done is I've just right-clicked that, gone copy, and then just put in paste, and as you can see now, it's just made a duplicate of that, and when I open it up, all those animations are still in there, including all of the transitions and how they're set up. So it's easy just to do that. If we go back out, we can change the name of that by clicking up here in the top right, typing in two-hand sword, and then hitting enter after you do that. If you don't hit enter, if you click somewhere else, it will just reset the name back to what it was. So you just hit enter after that, and then you're fine. Now, as I've done here, so this is the two-handed sword attack that I've set up for with the new animations. As you can see here, here's some of the animations we've got. Just bring that up. So here was one of the big animations that we've put in. So you can see it's a big overarm strike. So it's like you're actually attacking with a large, heavy weapon, as opposed to the katana, which is a lot lighter and a lot quicker. So yeah, I really wanted to use those animations. I really like them a lot. So I've replaced, basically just opened up two-handed sword area and just replace those animations with the ones from the Kubold pack. So now I've just replaced that. Now you got to be mindful that some of these here actually have, as you can see with this one here, he's stepping forward. So this is a root motion one because he's actually moving in 3D space. There are some, however, where I believe he stands still. No, that one he's walking as well. Okay, a lot of them are walking, but there are a few where they're actually standing in place and their legs don't quite move, and there's like some so like chopping from overhead and chopping from the top right, things like that, where their feet are still. So depending on how you want to set up the combat in your game, with my one I like the part where they stand still and then maybe on the third attack have them stepping forward, because you got to remember that, especially with the root motion, that when you're moving forward with a character, it actually is going to propel the character forward in a space. So if you have the automated attack as a moving forward one, you can't, it's very hard to do combat on a ledge because you might fall off the side of the ledge just trying to attack an enemy. So it's just something to keep in mind of when you're figuring out what kind of game you're making. But yeah, as it is, you can just easily replace these animations. I'm going to go back to the one that I've already done. In order to get started, so you've got the transition lines here from the entry point. So you'll need to click Make Transition, and then highlight your new copied section, and then go to just State Machine, two-hand sword, or whatever you've named yours. Click on that, and that's got your transition. And as you can see here, there's no conditions on our list, so it doesn't really know how it's going to link to these animations until we tell it. And if you have a look at some of the ones that are already there, you can see the only conditions they have on them is the attack ID with a corresponding number. So you can see it goes down 4, 2, 3, and 1. So these are the attack IDs that are actually linked to the items. Okay, buddy. That are linked to the items. So the weapons themselves will have an attack ID number on them that you can set. And they correlate to what animation it needs to activate when those items are used. So with our new one here, as I've just put in attack ID 5 because 5 didn't exist yet. So whatever new weapon you're adding in, if you've got a new set of animations with it, you can just increase that number by 1 and then and go from there. So once you've filled that out, so to do that in conditions, just click on the plus symbol and you'll see it'll pop up automatically with the first thing on the list. So we want to change that. We want to click on this the drop down menu here, and we want to look for attack ID, which appears here. So now we've got attack ID. We want to set the greater value. We want that to actually be equals, because we've got defined numbers. There's no analog thing. It's not going to be like, anything above that change. It's a specific number. So we've got equals. I'm going to change mine to 6. And yeah, we'll put that in there. This is just for demonstration. I'm actually going to delete this before I go on to the next part. But we've got attack ID 6. So now we've got the way to go in from those animations is by having an attack ID of 6. Now to leave those animations and to go back up to the next level up, to go back to the idle animations, whatnot, we need to right click the animation set here and go Make Transition. Then we're going to click on the Up Attacks one. Click on that, go to State Machine, and then select Null. So as we see here, when we click on this, we've got two-handed attack to null, and we go here, katana attack also to null, and then when we come down, we've got our two-handed sword null. So what that does is that just basically means that it exits back to the default animation, which in the end is either idle or it's running or whatever it is. So it just transitions to the next animation that's being triggered. So that's fine. So that's how we got that. So that's now set up and ready to go. So now we're going to double click that to open it up, and we're going to have a look at changing some of the animations in here. So as I said, I've already dragged some on there. So the animation is going to accept that there's a different attack ID number, and it's going to highlight that we want to use two-hand sword. So it's going to enter into the first animation, which is animation A. So it's the first of the three attacks that we have. So we've got that highlighted here as the longsword attack D2, and that's that animation that'll play. It can transition to B, or it can transition to the exit. So if you attack once, it's going to play the animation and then go back to the top, which, as we said before, was the null, so it will go to whatever the default anim is. But if we attack again while this animation is still playing, we can go to the B attack. So it'll transition to the next attack, which we've got as attack combo 0, and then from that one there we can also go to the exit, or we can go to the next attack, and then from the last attack it's just going to go to the exit. So we only have a chain of 3 attacks. So as you can see here, we've got the damage control, so the V melee attack control. You can set the values there for such as when the damage, so this start damage and end damage, those values are talking about what time in the animation should it actually activate the damage section of the attack. So there's a hitbox on the weapon, and that only activates during the animation at the times that it's set. So between 0.55 and 0.85 of the animation, remember 0 would be the beginning and 1 would be the end of the animation. Between those times, it's going to activate that hitbox. So anything that hitbox collides with that is on the layers set up for who you can damage will take damage during that period only. So this is for when, like, you've got an animation where a sword will swing around in a certain arc, but you only really want it to actually damage something when it's on the down swing or when it's on some part of it. So it's not like it's just going to damage everything if you accidentally tap it as you're walking along. So yeah, this is the way to sort that out. We'll go into that with a bit more depth in a later video when I really focus on adding in a few more things, but for now we'll just ignore that. So allow movement, yeah, again, you know what, we'll skip over this. For now, this is all just, you can leave it set as it is with the same as the katana script, so you can just leave that there for now, that's fine. The next thing you need to focus at is the transitions. So when we have a look here, it actually brings up the transition, so it's got the animation for A and then the animation for B. Because what happens is when you hit A, it's going to play through once through the whole animation, and then it's going to exit out the back end. But the thing is if you've got two different animations, especially if they're from two different packs, they might not transition together nicely. So you don't really want it to play the full animation and then stop and reset back to normal and then go on to the next animation, because it just leaves that gap there and makes it look a little bit jarring and it doesn't flow together nicely. So with the transitions, you're able to actually set up how it flows together. At what point in the animation does it stop playing one and start shifting across to the next animation? And you can set that up here through these slider bars. So as we look through here, so it's going to do that chop and then it's going to go back, and you can see how it sort of quickly jumps there. When it plays through, it's a little bit smoother, but as you can see, it's trying to switch from having that that jump. So it would normally reset all the way up, and the arms would be pretty much up here at the end of that animation, and then it would jump to playing that. But because of the way the body moves, we want it to sort of smoothly transition between the two. So it then finds the middle ground between the two animation states and blends them together so that it looks like it's one smooth flowing animation. And that way you just basically adjust this to fix that up. So this is just something to be mindful of when you're putting together some of the things. I did have to adjust them for some of the attacks here because they weren't exactly ones that were one after the other. Like they were switching from different sides and effects like that. So I did have to play around. The other issue here that you need to look at as well is the condition. So the same as we had transitions in the weak attacks here where we set the condition to attack ID, inside the animator section themselves is another set of transitions, and it needs to know what value needs to be met in order to transition to the next one. For the attacks inside, as we are under the weak attacks banner, we need to have the condition weak attack set. So that condition needs to be present, so you just click on plus and you just go through the drop down menu, find weak attack, there you go. Now I'm just going to actually minus that one because we don't need to, that's fine. So whenever you're in the middle of playing this one and then you hit weak attack, it will then align itself for the transition to the next attack. Same with the next one up, so we next need the same one, weak attack, and then it will play through. So once you've got those, you are pretty much set for the weak attacks. You've got it transitioning in and out, and then you'll have the ID number on there, so just make sure you got that. We're going to go back up to the attacks now, and what we want to do is, because we want to be able to actually do the strong attacks as well, you need to, if you're adding in a new set, you are going to need some for the strong attacks, because what's going to happen if you don't have one set up for the right attack, it will just play the unarmed, so your strong attacks will be you punching with the sword in your hand, and it just looks a bit weird. So what I've actually done in order to get around this is I've actually just copied that one, so I've just gone copy again, gone back up here, gone to strong attacks, and I've pasted it here, and as you can see it's still the exact same name, and inside it would actually be the same animations, but I've changed them around. But we need to do the same thing again with the transition. So we go, make transition, we click on this, go make transition, and then state machine, two-hand attack, so we make sure we do that. And as you've got here, attack ID equals 5. So we do the same thing with the attack ID as we did with the weak attacks, just lining it up here. So it knows that when we do a strong attack and we have a weapon with the attack ID 5, we're looking for the two-handed sword attack. So we open that up. In here I've done the same thing. I've replaced it with a new animation. This one here is different to the first one, so you can see it's just a top-down attack, but it's a really putting a lot of force into it, and it is one that steps forward as opposed to my previous one that didn't step forward. And then here again we've got another one, the double R, which actually did follow on from the last one, I believe. And as you can see there, he does one attack in and then spins it around and does all sorts of fancy moves. So one of them, just attacks that looked more powerful and a little bit of movement. Now, the only difference that I've got here, so you could actually just put in the same animations and it doesn't matter. You could always just adjust the amount of damage multiplier to make it a harder attack, that sort of thing. Again, we'll go over that in another video. The one thing that you need to change though, because I had a bit of trouble, it wasn't working and I couldn't figure it out until I realised my error, in the transition state. So, yep, you've adjusted these the same as you'd need to in the other one, but the condition needs to be strong attack. So what it's doing there is it's basically, when it's playing this one, if you hit the strong attack button again, it's going to transition into the next strong attack, which is B. I had it set before as weak attack because I cut and paste, so just make sure you change that through the drop-down menu. So you've got weak attack, then underneath that, strong attack. So just make sure that that's highlighted, and then you won't have any errors like I did. So that's all you need to do for the animator. Now that animator is set and ready to go. The next step that we need to do is, if we go back into the scene here, we can have our prefab, find him here. So that's all nice and good. We need to go to, the easiest way I've got is just go to the item manager, and we need here, so we've seen that we've got the great sword highlighted for the character. That's the one we've got automatically equipped just for our test purposes. So I'm just going to click on that, and you see it's going to bring up the item list editor. So now this brings up the item list editor with the great sword selected. Excuse me just one moment. There you go. Alright, so now we've got the great sword highlighted. So in here, all these settings stay the same, except for you can tick here for two-handed weapon. Because this is going to be a two-handed weapon where we're going to have him constantly holding onto it, we don't want him to really be able to hold a shield or any other item in his left hand. So you tick this one here, and then whenever you equip this item, it blocks out the left hand so you can't add anything else in there. Now the next thing we need to edit from that is the actual object that we have originally, which is the one that spawns in the hand, and that controls all of the hit details, everything like that. So we just click on that, and as you can see, it's going to bring it up in our little project viewer here. Just click on it again, and now we've got it in the inspector. So we can minimise that because we already know what it looks like. The hit effects, we don't have to worry too much about that for now. But as you can see here, we've got the melee weapon script. Give me just one more second. Alright, back again. So as I was saying, so the sword options, we need to find the V melee weapons script, which has it here. You got your damage options, they're all, you can adjust them if you're making a two-handed weapon, if you want it to be heavier, doesn't matter, it's not what we're looking at here. What we need to look at are the two things, so the attack ID. As I said, when we're in the animator, we've changed the attack ID to Well, for this one we've set it to 6, but we're going with this two-handed sword attack, which I've already built, and that's 5. So I'm actually just going to delete that now. We don't need that. We come back along here, so we need the attack ID to be set to 5 so that it knows that this item here triggers off the two-handed sword animations when we use it. The other moveset ID is the other one that we need to look at. So the moveset ID is basically any change to the standard moving around, so your free locomotion or your strafing motion, if it's different, because when you're unarmed, you're obviously standing as you'd be standing without any weapons in your hand, and you'd be moving differently to as if you had a sword and a shield in your hand. And if you had a two-handed sword, you're going to be holding it with 2 hands, so your moveset ID is going to be slightly different. So there's already a moveset ID built in there for the two-handed weapon when we're using the katana. So that one is in the base layer, locomotion, free locomotion again, and then you can see here we've got this set here. So the moveset can jump all the way up to 3, and that's when we start getting these strafe holders. And as you can see, this is how you'd be standing if you're idle holding a two-handed sword. So that's what we need for our two-handed sword setup. So we go back to the scene. Oh, I've lost it again. Nope. Uh-oh. Yeah, tell me about it, buddy. Now what I should have done is I should have actually put this sword in. No, it's great sword, isn't it? That's right. That's why we can't find it. My goodness, why can't I find what's going on here? There we go. V sword long. All right. So we're going to grab that one now. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do what I keep telling everyone else to do, and I'm going to place that into the modified resources folder. Which I can't find. There it is. Cool. Alright, so now it's going to be easier for me to find that when I need to find it for the tutorial videos. So again, so the moveset ID, we're going to set that to 3, and the attack ID needs to be set to 5. Once you've got those set, that's going to tell what section of the animator controller it needs to do, and that's it. You are ready to go. So we hit play, and match as I shown before. So now it's using the moveset 3, which was the two-handed sword holding that we found. You can walk around, and it's not going to do too much because it blends in the two upper body and the lower body together. And then when we run, it's obviously going to do a little bit more. When we jump over the block, it's gonna just do that regular jump style with the item in the hand. The Kubold animations. Oh no, what have you done, buddy? The Kubold animation packs actually come with things like climbing and like jumping over things and jumping as well, rolling. All of that with the two-handed sword in hand. So it's actually its own animations. So you can replace some of those animations too, and just set up the moveset ID in the same way that you would by setting the weapons, where we set the conditions to a different number, so that we know, so the controller knows which one it needs to call on. I can do that again in a later video. This one here, I just want to show you how to sort of quickly get it in with the sword attacks. You can see strong attacks, kicking through, and boom, bang, bang, lots of fun. Anyway, so that's how you get those in there. Again, I'll be putting up, hopefully today I'll be recording adding in the quest system, and I'll be putting that on a video. If you have any other further questions about the animator or anything like that, jump on the forums or send me a message here, and we'll see if we can help out. Anyway, thanks for watching the video, and I'll hope to see you again soon.